Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Garibaldi Red podcast, a Nottingham Forest podcast, as the Reds fall to defeat at Wembley in the FA Cup semi-final against Manchester City. A 2-0 defeat after a great second-half performance and plenty to be proud of. As I was messaging podcast producer Dan of what to title this episode, I thought, why not use Nuno's words yesterday, which were almost Forest defiant in defeat at Wembley, which we all were as we left London yesterday. Plenty to look forward to with the push for Europe still on, and lots to be proud of this season. And another great memory yesterday at Wembley, joined by Sara Brown and Dave Astbury, who were both there at Wembley yesterday, and including me. We all got back late last night, some later than others, so we're all right. We're a bit tired. The emotions catch up with you, soaking it all in on Wembley way. But what a day to be there. Very lucky to be there. I think we'll all agree. Dave, let's start with you, mate. Just just what you made of, well, just kind of how you found the day. You know, going down there with the sea of red, 35,000 other Forest fans, lots to be proud of, and walking on Wembley way. I can remember going to the playoff final with you, Dave, when obviously Forest beat Huddersfield that brilliant day. You felt the pressure, you felt the nerves in the air because your season relies on that one moment. Whereas yesterday was a little bit of a free hit, and the pressure felt off, and it just felt nice to almost enjoy the occasion before as well.
Just immense pride in Nottingham Forest Football Club. You know, arrived at Wembley a few hours before kick-off and never saw... The only sky blue shirts I saw were our away kit. So, you know, either City were... still on the tubes going around in the underground or whatever, I don't know. But it was entirely red, Wembley yesterday. And, the first thing that has to be said before we get on to the match itself is what an incredible, truly incredible fan base this Nottingham Forest fan base is. You know, every young, old, boy, girl, you name it. It was incredible to see that sea of red shirts everywhere. And it felt like, for Nottingham Forest Football Club, an honest, heartfelt, emotional occasion. And I looked around and I just thought, I'm part of this incredibly, close-knit, enormous family. And it's that sense of belonging to something. I thought, from a social point of view, the Forest supporters, each and every single person that was in that ground yesterday, they're just wonderful, special people. And to see, I was sat sort of on the halfway line, quite high up, and I was able to look round the curve, that end, and see the red, and the contrast between everybody was packed in. It was like jolly and joyous, whatever happened in the match. And then in fact, there was more red in the City end than there was blue, because there were so many empty seats, right? For whatever reason, I don't want to get into that. But then with the match itself, I thought we were outclassed first half. I thought Manchester City were really, really good. They kind of struck a blow back for possession football, I thought, first half. And you can say, well, Forest didn't do this, didn't do that, whatever. No, let's give credit to City. City played really, really well. I thought Mateo Kovacic was the eminent. He was terrific. I thought he was the best player on the field yesterday. Lewis played all right, what have you. And Forest just couldn't get near them first half for whatever reason. Second half, an entirely different matter. And from having been outclassed up until half time, you could quite easily say, ultimately Forest were rather unlucky. Morgan's shot with his weaker foot was an amazing effort. He has no need to apologise to me for that. He has no need to apologise to me for anything. Morgan tries hard every time. Morgan's a proper captain, like Yates is when he wears the armband, And then we're unlucky again. Taiwo hit the post. Morgan, I think Morgan maybe ought to have scored, but it was a rapidly narrowing angle, and he did well to sort of. He read it. It was the one time City were indolent at the back, and he got in there and he hit the post. So, you kind of come out. Yeah, we lost, but I think there's still positives to take out the game. My only disappointments, really, I was sad that Ola couldn't be there, because I think if Ola had been fit, he would have given us balance. I think it's, Harry had to play because Harry earned his place on Monday night with an excellent performance at Tottenham, so Harry had to play. Zack Abbott, I mean, a young lad thrown in the deep end. Wow, his family must have been so proud. I was proud of him. That was a big ask for a young guy to do that. And the human element of watching a football match is I kind of thought, how would I feel if I was, 20 years old and asked to play against one of the world's great teams in a stadium that big when I've only played once in the first team before, and that was a Carabao Cup game, I think. So, I was with Zach the whole game, rooting for him. I would have liked Anthony to have played. I think Anthony, if Forest are going to have this identity to play on the counter with quick transition and surrender lots of possession, Anthony and his lightning pace are the key element in that fast transition. I would have played Zach. I think I would have played Anthony instead of Callum and brought Callum on later, because Anthony's pace is so frightening. And as soon as he came on, he should have scored straight after half time. That was the two crucial moments in that game were Anthony's miss.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that annoyed me was that second goal City was very poor from our point of view. We've got Milenkovic in the box, got Murillo in the box. These guys have prided, and our back four has prided itself on not giving away easy goals. And Gvardiol really, it was an easy header, and it came just at the wrong time. You kind of think, my thought was thinking, well, Forest are a certain echelon, City are at that higher echelon where we've had some chances. We've had one brilliant chance we've not taken, and City have put theirs away. And this is where it's giving Forest that, thing to aim at in their evolution. But I just felt if Anthony had played, Nuno gave his reasons, and that's fine. But I would have played Anthony, because if you've got searing pace in your lineup, whoever you're playing against, they are going to have to think about that. And it was proved when he came on. From the moment Anthony came on, we were a different entity, and we looked dangerous. So it's all hindsight. It's all what might have been and what could have been. The truth of the matter is, we're out the FA Cup. City go on, but and there'll be some regrets. I think there's always regrets, things you could have done better. But it's done now, and on to Thursday. But as a Nottingham Forest supporter, proud of everybody and just honoured to be amongst it really yesterday.
Yeah, no, absolutely, Dave. I agree. It was especially the moment before, with kind of the scarves waving around and just the atmosphere and the Mulligan tyre moment and the Forza Garibaldi display. It genuinely makes you proud to be a Forest fan.
Mark Dennison, how brilliant was he?
Yeah, it was brilliant, unbelievable, and hearing a familiar voice like that as well. I just thought it was quite an emotional moment yesterday, so totally agree. Sarah, let's talk about the team a little bit. Dave mentions it there. For Nuno to give Zack Abbott his second ever start for Forest in terms of kind of a major competition he's not even started in the Premier League. For it to be a Carabao Cup and the FA Cup, a semi-final at Wembley, the biggest stadium in the UK, pretty much, isn't it? In England. So the pressure was on him, and I don't know about you, but in the concourse before the game, when the team news kind of came out, and where I was, it was 118, I think I sat in, and everyone was kind of crammed near me. And then all of a sudden you see Abbott, and you don't say it in a disrespectful way, but we were all shocked, and we were all shocked that maybe Danilo was playing and Alanga was on the bench, and there was a few surprises in that team. Whether it let us down, and we'll talk about that, but I don't know what your thoughts and feelings were in the concourse when the team news was released, or whether you were outside the ground, but I think it took a lot of people by surprise.
Yeah, me and Mick were on our own, so we'd been with friends and family, and then obviously we'd all gone our own ways, which you sometimes tend to have to do at Wembley, don't you? So I haven't even checked the team, so I got the team. I was kind of like more than half expecting Ola to be in the team or on the bench. That's what I was expecting. I really was. I thought it was the best kept secret, but I wasn't expecting Abbott. I thought he would. I thought he was going to be on the bench, yeah. But he'd had an interview in the week, and he'd slipped up by saying, when I'm on that pitch or on the bench or in the stands. And I thought, okay, but it still didn't hit me. But yeah, amazing. It's great for him, isn't it? And he did fantastic. I think he actually was in space a lot more and was asking for the ball a little bit more than they were giving it him. And I know that they were targeting him, and they were targeting both sides, because they were targeting Toffolo as well, weren't they? So they knew we weren't playing our strongest fullbacks. but yeah, he had a great game, unbelievable. He didn't really put a foot wrong, to be fair. From an 18-year-old first start, you couldn't have asked for any more, could you? And then, unfortunately, I think it was a bit of cramp at the end that he had to go off with. So yeah, it was brilliant. But yeah, very shocked, and I don't know if you guys were, but I was quite surprised. Yeah,
I was. Yeah,
but,
I was
but I
surprised.
thought Danilo though earned his place from Tottenham, but he plays much better when he's not got bleached hair. As soon as that hair grows out, he plays so much better. So I don't know. There was a couple of things that me and Mick said, and we said maybe last year he would have gone in for that tackle, or he would have got that. I don't know whether the ankle's still playing on him, or whether it's next season when we're going to see more consistency. I don't know, but he played well at Tottenham, and and he started, and we're not the manager, so yeah, shame that I would have liked to have seen Anthony start. Definitely, I don't know what's going on. He's managing his time. He's like he was at some point this season. He was managing Anthony's time. So whether he's got a niggle, again, he's very fast, isn't he? So I imagine he might be on the brink, and he wants him. He'd rather have him half the time than none of the time. That's all I can think. Yeah, he played him for, maybe he should have played the first half, and we should have got that first goal. So yeah, but what can you say? All the lads gave what they could, didn't they? It was unfortunate that first goal, we switched off. But Man City, yeah, took us by surprise, I think, and they shouldn't have. We looked a bit nervous a lot nervous the first 20 minutes. And Mick just kept saying to me, "Game of two halves. This game of two halves." It was.
Yeah, it was. It was. And funny enough, as I walked out and onto Wembley Way yesterday, there was just a random Forest fan, and he said, "Oh, it reminded me of the Aston Villa game." And I thought, yeah, you know what, you kind of spot on in terms of a.
I was worried it might be.
Sub comes on,
yeah,
and obviously Anthony Elanga being that player, Jota Silva being the player when he came on against Villa, and just goes to show that one small adjustment can make a difference to the team. We'll get on to Danilo, Elanga, and a few other bits and pieces in a minute, Dave. I know you've mentioned him, I know Sarah's mentioned him, but we've got to give him a bit more kind of airtime and discuss him. Zack Abbott, for me, is probably, I'm going to use, this might be one of your favourite words, Dave, or Max's, I can't remember. He almost epitomises what you want of a player in a Forest shirt, and not just a Forest shirt, but anyone that plays for your football club, and goes to show in life never to really write anybody off. And plenty of people were writing that decision from Nuno off. I thought the fullbacks area, yes, they could have done a little bit better, but you're without Williams, you're without Yates, you're without Aina. For a semi-final of an FA Cup against still arguably one of the best teams in Europe, one of the best teams in the world, the fullback areas I don't think troubled Forest that much. And I thought Zack Abbott, to say he was in the stands watching Forest get promoted at Wembley just a couple of years ago, that's one heck of a journey, and goes to show what Nottingham Forest and I guess modern day football should all be about.
Yeah, I always pride myself on my empathy and my trying to get my mind into the mind of somebody else. And I had no worries about Zack Abbott whatsoever. He would have been like, "Hey, Zack, do you fancy playing?" "Yeah." "I tell you what, Zack, you're going to start today." Cloughie did it many years ago with Roy Keane at Liverpool. "Put that number 7 shirt on or whatever, Keane. Let's have a look at you. Stick it on, Irishman." And Keane stuck it on, and Keane was like, What are you making this for, Gaffer? Making me wear this for, Gaffer?" And the old boy went, "You're starting tonight. Get out there, right?" And Keane then ended up having a great career. I'm not going to say Zack's going to end up in the same rarefied level that Keano is, but I had no worries about him at all, and I liked it. I like the fact that it shocked so many people. I thought it was great. I'm contrary at the same time as having this empathy, and I thought the lad won't let us down at all. He'll love it. I watched him during the warm up, and he was fine. He looked like he was part of the team. They obviously, Nuno and the senior group in that squad, they have no worries about him. There was no sense that the others were looking to kind of mollycoddle him through the game or carry him through the game. And I thought he did fine. I mean, as far as City were concerned, I don't think Savinho was that great a threat. Marmoush is a fine player, but I don't. He did that much. I thought that the threat from City came through the middle from Kovacic. Rico Lewis seemed to keep popping up, and I was at high level and you could see it was kind of like you're looking down on the pitch and you could see the City City technically are great and their passing's so good and they were able to find pockets of space. Bernardo Silva, I thought, had a really good game as well. So if you like those old heads in the middle who people have been writing off, your Kovacic's, your Bernardos, they showed their experience yesterday, and they're world-class players, both of them. They played in big matches, right? So, but as regards Zack Abbott, to just finish on Zack, I looked at it and thought, wow, what a tonic for his development as a human being and as a footballer. And it was really nice. There was the little hint of Worrell about him, which I like. And it's good for us. We've always had this connection, with our academy boys, and to see an academy boy come through and do that, I thought it's a really good story. I mean, he will be like I say, he'll have learned so much, which will benefit him and us as a club. And as Sara said, the manager sees what we don't see, and the manager had no worries about putting him in. And what a feather in Zack Abbott's cap that is for Nuno to think that. So, it's it was a disappointing day. His interview afterwards kind of summed it up for everybody, really. So not only is he a young lad going out on the field, but he represented us really well. He said, it was he struck the right tone in saying it. For him personally, it was an amazing experience. But obviously, he wanted to win, and I think that's where we all were. But for him, fantastic, and I think there's a good player in the making.
Yeah, for sure. Lovely words, Dave.
Well, it wasn't Nuno's only choice, was it? He could have played others as well, couldn't he? So he obviously thought that Zack was up to it. He obviously thought that Zack was the best person, player to put in that role yesterday. So hands up, and like you say, it wasn't glaringly obvious that we were weak down those sides. I think once we got ourselves sorted, Nunes was getting a bit of joy down the right, and or the left, if it's our left, or but once they'd sorted that out, I noticed he wasn't getting it as much. So it was great.
Yeah, no, I agree. In terms of it being a game of two halves, Sara, I don't want to single him out, but when I watched it from the stands yesterday, we've talked about him just a little bit there. You mentioned he deserved his place from Spurs the other night. I just thought Danilo he just looked a little bit too defensive for me, and maybe that was his job, and Nuno kind of sent him out to do it. But every time he seemed to pick up the ball, it was sloppy passes, it was errors. I get it's a big occasion. Maybe he was nervous for that, but he just kind of kept turning, and rather than going forward, he just looked like he was defending. With all due respect, it looked like a little bit, for me, like the Danilo that was under Steve Cooper maybe a couple of years ago before his injury, and I just thought that I thought he's got to do a little bit better there, and I just thought that Forest lacked that attacking threat in the first half, and when we had the very few chances to break away, because it was all City, as Dave mentioned at the start, they had a lot of possession, they almost earned one back for possession and beating Forest on that level, and our kind of game plan didn't work that first half, but when we got those slim chances to kind of break away, there was no real pace, and that's where an Elanga should have started. Roy Keane said on ITV yesterday, and I've got to say he was spot on, he just couldn't understand why Elanga didn't start, and I would say that that was the one that shocked and probably disappointed me the most, and I also thought Callum did well when Elanga came on. It was almost like those two worked together. They both have to be on the same at the same time and on the same pitch together, and all of a sudden we've got two fast wingers because Callum looked off it, and I just thought, Sara, that Forest massively lacked that attacking threat, particularly in the first half yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, like early on in the season and not too long ago, we were playing Elanga and Callum. It was working beautifully, wasn't it? Wood in the middle. And then when, I don't know if it coincided with Wood getting injured, he's changed it and he's played one or the other or moved them around a bit. And I don't really understand why, because obviously Callum didn't start at Tottenham and then Elanga didn't start yesterday. And I don't know why. I'm not, like I say, I'm not the manager. I don't understand why. But we definitely missed him. And with Danilo, it was how he was when he almost first came back after his injury. He was just not quite on the ball. He wasn't getting to the second balls. And he'd get the ball and then either pass would be short or too much. And so that, for me, was disappointing with Danilo. Yeah, I mean, I saw that. None of us, I don't think, was surprised that he made a change at half-time. But Elanga, yeah, and I listened to the radio. I listened to the commentary this morning, actually, on my dog walk and on the way to work. Yeah, and Steve Hodge wasn't happy at all, was he, with the with the team selection? And fair enough, because I think I looked at that and I said, "There's no Elanga. He's on the bench." I couldn't understand it, because the main thing that we want to do is we want to start out the blocks fast and get an early goal. And the way he's playing at the moment, Elanga, is, I think he's playing the best football I've seen him play this season. He's not I know he was on the pitch 1 minute and he didn't finish that. But what
It was
position
his first
he got
touch,
himself.
really, in fairness.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a difficult.
The position he got himself in, just unbelievable, wasn't it? Yeah, the finish would have been sublime, wouldn't it? But yeah, I think he's looking the best he's looked for a while, personally. He's looking mature, and he's making the right decisions, and he's positioning himself really well. I know, and obviously his pace at the moment, he's flying. So I don't know why. I can only think he's managing his minutes. I don't know why he's not playing him on the same pitch as Callum Hudson-Odoi, because they play lovely together, don't they? And then he was bringing on Jota and Sosa as the wings. I mean, I know Jota came on as a fullback yesterday, didn't he? And he's like a terrier, isn't he?
He did quite well.
He was brilliant.
He did all right.
He was brilliant. He wasn't going to let him get out of, he wasn't going to let him attack the goal, was he, when he got him in the corner? So yeah, no, great. But yeah, he has changed a little bit, and I don't know why. I don't know whether that's because he's got Danilo back now, and he really likes him, doesn't he? Because he keeps playing him, and he does have, like, he played a good game at Tottenham, and I thought, he's back to nearly his best. But then, yeah, you don't want him to have a bad game at Wembley, do you?
No, you don't. I think if there's one occasion where you need a bit of luck on your side and the players to be up for it, it's probably when you're on the biggest football pitch in the country. I mean, Dave, in terms of that first half, and then second half, you get Forrester straight out of the blocks, and really it's an instant response. It's nearly an instant impact from Anthony Elanga. That was his introduction. And do you know what? When I look back at it, watching it in the stands, it looked easier to score, and you just couldn't believe how it didn't end up in the back of the net. Watching it on a replay, it was actually quite a difficult angle, and the speed of the ball, and you understand it's quite a difficult one. You've got that chance. I'm going to forget them because there were so many. You've got Morgan's chance, which was rattled off the crossbar. You've then got Morgan's second chance, which he hits the post. You've got Taiwo's chance, which hit the bar. Then you've got Morgan's header on the follow-up from that. We're talking 5 or 6 chances where if they another day in football. I said to my brother yesterday, the football gods, Forest have done something wrong this week for one of those chances not to end up in the back of the net. So frustrating, so gutting, because that could have changed the game. I mean, I've just never been so angry at Forest missing chances. I've got to say, thank God they were only a £5 pair from Primark. I had a pair of sunglasses on my head, and in frustration, I actually ended up snapping these sunglasses on the floor because I could not believe that one of those chances had not. I just couldn't believe that they didn't end up in the back of the net, Dave.
Yeah, this is what separates the top teams from the teams like Forest, who are progressing and evolving.
Being clinical, isn't it, I guess?
City had 2 chances. Unfortunately, at the moment, they're a better team than we are, right? They're in an FA Cup final. That's seen as a poor season for them. We're having an incredible season. And it just tells you the relative statuses of the 2 clubs, right? And we had 5, 6 good chances, didn't put any of them away. City had their 2 and stuck them away. And that's what Forest have got to learn now. I think the Anthony Elanga chance, I've seen it again today, and he's not far away at all. He almost kind of needs to, as Callum's played the ball in, he almost needs to kind of let the ball just run past him a little bit and flick it sort of a little bit behind square leg, if you like, to use a cricket term, and then at the near post. It's almost like he kind of connected with it a bit too well. If he'd sort of feathered it a bit more and it got off at an angle, then I think Ortega would have had a problem, and Forrest would have been right back in business. So I've been sort of thinking about it. I just think with us, we have such an identity at the moment that we forged, and it's served us well. This idea of we don't have as much possession as the opposition, but then, you know, when we get the ball, we're efficient and we're clinical with it, and we're so quick on the transition, most of which rests upon, you know, the winged feet of Anthony Elanga. I think as the next part of our evolution, Forest need to be more versatile and more adaptable. I think Forest need to find, you know, other ways to play. They've gone from being 17th and pretty average in the Premier League last year to sort of, you know, a Champions League contender, FA Cup semi-finals this year. And that kind of basic approach that they came up with, this is going to serve us well. Let's don this costume and let's see where it takes us. Forest need to have something else in their wardrobe now. I think they need to find other ways to play. And they need to, I think if they could sort of do that, still keep that mode of the opposition have lots of possession and we wait and bang, we hit them on the counter. That's great. But I think there are going to be other games where Forest need to be, you know, if you like, the team carrying the threat and keeping the possession. And I thought yesterday, while Forest have struck a blow for like not having lots of possession most of the season and have been damned effective with it and made lots and lots of people sit up and take notice because they've done something different to the accepted convention at the moment. City yesterday just went, hang on, we're going to have lots of it. And actually, you know, if you've not got the ball and we've got most of it, then you're going to do all the work. And I thought the first half, what worried me after that Lewis goal, which I thought was beautifully constructed, I just thought it was a really good goal. Whereas I thought City's second goal was eminently avoidable and disappointing to me. I would have been angry with my defenders for not clearing that. The first goal I thought was a really good goal, and they worked the space between them, and it was stuck away well, right? But it looked at that time, I thought, blimey, Forest are going to get a bit of a chase in here. They couldn't get hold of the ball. And then when they did get hold of the ball, it seemed like City were right on them. City didn't seem to be doing that much, but it just seemed like Forest had so little time to play. So the likes of Danilo were never allowed to settle in the game. Murillo was another one who the first 3 or 4 touches he had were like boots out of play and clearances. He couldn't get his passing game going. And Forest were never allowed to settle. I think some teams need half time and we needed half. Second half, I thought we were the aggressor. And it was, like you say, the point that was made about the similarity to the game at Villa Park, I think is a really good one because, you know, we finished stronger and you know, from a point where it looked like we were going to get a good scene to, it ended up with Forest being labelled as luckless in the media outlets that I read. So, you know, again, there are lots of positives. There are lessons there that need to be listed and learned from. I just want us, you know, if we're going to be a fixture in the scenario near the top of the table on a more regular basis, I think we need to have other ways of winning football matches to go to the excellent one that we've developed. You know, it's almost like, I think now what's happening is, and we've said this before in this podcast, people know how Forest like to play. So Pep and his staff would have studied, Forest want to play on the counter. Let's deny them that counter. And for 45 minutes, City basically smothered Forest. But no, it was. I think it was a difficult occasion for some of our lads, not so much for the others. But you know, they're a team, but people react in different ways. So you know, I'm always take a benevolent view. Yeah.
I just wonder, Dave. Actually, it's a good point, especially in the first half. If Forest could have just kept the ball a bit and just kind of played it around a little bit, they'd have grown into the game more. They'd have got a little bit more confident.
Do you know what, Max? I was kind of saying that. Just keep the ball, lads. If you've got it, City can't do anything to you or at you or against you. So while Forest are like, you know, I think there've been lots of times this season where Forest are like, yeah, you have it. We're not bothered because we'll hit you on the counter because we've got this Swedish speed merchant here, right? The trouble was in that first half, that Swedish speed merchant who is, I think, the guy who unnerves our opponents more than anybody wasn't there. You know, so would Nuno say, if he had Nuno at his time back in, would he put Ant in? I'd have had Ant in. I'd had Callum coming on later and Ant in to start with. I certainly wouldn't have been leaving Zack Abbott out. But
why do you think he's not getting 90 minutes?
I've no idea.
Because you'd play 90 minutes, wouldn't you?
Nuno's asked the question, and he said, "Do you want me to play Anthony Elanga right back?" That's what he said. Now we don't. Anthony Elanga can't play right back. I absolutely agree with him. But I just think about two sort of wingers, both of whom have been amazing. The pair of them have been amazing. Callum's been amazing. 3 million, a lad whose career was seemingly finished. He's been amazing, that lad. Anthony has been amazing. Manchester United didn't rent much to him, and when we signed him, wasn't that great excitement? These two lads have become mainstays of our team, so not a problem with them. I just don't know. It really is. And the beauty is, I don't know. It's good that I don't know, because if you're managing a team, it's up to you. And I mean, I did see one thing last night where Nuno had said, when we wake up in the morning, the sadness will be gone. And somebody written underneath, when you wake up in the morning, please quit, which I kind of thought, where's that come from? You know what I mean? Ridiculous. Wanting Nuno to quit. Absolute garbage. So,
is it a Derby fan?
I don't know who it was. I just saw it and I just chuckled to myself, probably one of these people who wants a different manager after every single defeat. He lost a game. Let's get a new manager. He lost it. So if Forest lost all 38 games in the season, they'd have 39 managers. Do you know, something
nearly
like
as many
that.
as Watford.
Like Watford. Yeah, ridiculous.
Do you know what, David? Cracks me up quickly. Talking about Derby fans, on the train yesterday. This was the Derby to St Pancras. It was 9-10 a.m. It's such a long day. I can't remember what train we got now. I was in Standard, and this bloke kind of got on the train at Derby, and he had not like a full-on Derby shirt, but he had like a white T-shirt with like one of those smart kind of modern day things you get from a club shop, like a bit of like an art of football type wear, if you know what that is. And he had his Derby badge on this shirt, and I'm thinking, you must be going down to London for work, ready for the week, for a day out, whatever. I'm thinking, that's got to be deliberate. And some Forest fan asked him, actually, as he walked off the train, is that deliberate? And he can't, I didn't hear what he said, but surely it was. And I'm thinking, fair play. You've got to have some balls to do that.
He's probably getting some fresh air before they play Stoke in that, 28-pointer next week. You know what I mean?
Could go either way.
I'm in Uttoxeter, right? Like you are, Max. And I've got Derby one way, Stoke the other way. And in our gym at the moment where I work, there's a load of Derby lads in there, there's a load of Stoke lads here, and they're all building to this massive game at the weekend. I mean, not massive like an FA Cup semi-final for a big club like us, but massive in their small microcosmic world. Do you know what I mean? And I'm in the gym going, Derby lads, you go in the free weights area. Stoke lads, you go in the cardio area, and just keep away from each other, right? And that struck me yesterday. You talk about the Stokes and Derbys and Leicesters and all this kind of stuff, what they're going through. And okay, yesterday was disappointing for us, but that's a more exalted level that we've got ourselves to, and which Mr. Marinakis will have enjoyed and will do everything he can to make sure it becomes, like it was in the 70s and the 80s, a regular occurrence. So Mr. Marinakis himself gives me lots of confidence that, yesterday wasn't just a thing that we'll look back on and it was a one-off. I'd like to think more of it will happen.
Yeah, for sure. Quickly then, Sarah, before we move on to look at Brentford and the bigger picture in the next couple of weeks as we're closing on the final run-in, what do you make to the substitutions yesterday? Because I thought Sangare did well, but I thought particularly when Jota Silva and Ramon Sosa came on, and Taiwo, I thought Nuno knows that we're not going to get back into this game. And it wasn't a giving up. I don't want to say that because it sounds too harsh on him and on those players that came on. But ultimately it felt like, maybe Thursday night's a little bit more important in terms of the bigger picture, Sarah.
Oh, I think he's had an eye on Thursday night for the game. He's managed everybody's minutes with an eye on Thursday, I think, and the Premier League. And, as great as it was yesterday, I think if we'd have gone through to the final, and lost on Thursday, we could have said, well, we've got an FA Cup final. So now we've not in the FA Cup final, we can just eyes on Thursday and hopefully we can win. I don't know. I thought they all did okay. I like Sosa. I think if he had a bit more of a run in
I was going to say, does he deserve more of a chance?
Well,
He's quick.
it's a difficult one, isn't it? Because I do think he deserves more of a chance. But then who do you take out of the team to give him that chance? Because everything's working. So although we've just said it's perhaps not working as well as it was because he's not playing Elanga as much. But so he's only getting 5-10 minutes, isn't he? But I think he's a good player, and I think I think maybe next year we might see. We're either going to see more of him or a lot less of him. But yeah, I like him, and Jota comes on like a terrier and causes problems, doesn't he? So I thought he did really well when he came on against Aston Villa, and I thought he did well again yesterday, and has to do a job that he's obviously not used to doing, but he did it great, and he does it with passion and heart, doesn't he? He gives it everything, so you can't complain when he came on. Taiwo hit the post, again, just a little bit, the other to the right. Maybe we could have put some pressure under Man City, because that was the disappointing thing, that we didn't get a goal back and we didn't put them under a bit of pressure, because I think we might have seen a little bit of I'm not saying the result would have been massively different, but I'm saying it would have been.
It changed the momentum of the game. And
definitely would. I mean, we changed the momentum of the game second half, and then they again just went to the other side and got a second, which was unfortunate. So yeah, I think he was managing the players' minutes for Thursday, wasn't he? That's how I viewed it, really. And he was giving the guys a run at, a run out at Wembley, because we were 2-0 down against Man City, and I don't think we were going to get in it. I think we needed to bury one of those chances, Anthony's and one of Morgan's, really. I think we needed, and the shot from Morgan, he hit it sweet. It just went just under the bar, but that's the difference, isn't it, between like Anthony Elanga and Morgan, and these players that they're paying 120 million for, that are playing, they just don't quite finish. They probably don't finish as many as they perhaps should. Because I know Dave said about Elanga's goal, goal that wasn't a goal chance, and it was difficult. It was a difficult chance when you watched it. The goalkeeper he'd made it really tight. There was nowhere for him to go there. So he perhaps should have swept it over the other side, also going at 120 miles an hour and everything rushing at him. So maybe that's and that's probably why we've got him for 15 million, and why we've got Morgan playing for us right now. But these guys are looking better week by month, season by season. So I imagine they will be there, and we will be fighting off the big guns that want to pay 100 million, 80 million for them. But that's just probably where we're not at this moment. That's how I see it. Probably if one of the City players had been in front of goal with one of Morgan's, that was so difficult. But that probably would have just snuck under. I don't know. It's just fine margins, isn't it? And I think that's what Nuno said, and that's what it is. Yeah. That's just the slight difference between us and somebody like City. We'd have probably been 2-1 up.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. Fine margins.
There, didn't I, a bit?
No, I agree.
Morgan's technique on that volley, I watched it in slow motion, is absolutely top draw.
I'm more gutted for him than us that he didn't get it, because a goal at Wembley like that would have been unbelievable.
None of us are as gutted as he was afterwards.
No, I know. I felt
he showed how much it mattered to him. I thought he was terrific, that lad. He gives it all every week. The people moan of it. Why does he try this? Why does he try that? Nah, Morgan's fine for me.
But was he playing on a bit towards the right first half, and then he went more, and it was clear he was more in the middle second half. He got more freedom, and that's when you see the best of him.
It comes back to this. We just weren't as balanced as we normally are. When we've got our best 11 out on the field, and I tend to think, like you, Sarah, it's Ant one side and Cal the other, Woody, and then Morg, and then Ola, Nico. I think we now know what our best 11 is, right? We're pretty much close to it. I think the holding midfielder role, it could be Nico Dominguez one day, it could be Yatesy another, whatever. But I think we know what it is. And unfortunately, I think the Ola injury has made things really, really difficult. Not only do you lose Ola because he's a really good defensive fullback, probably the best right back in the Premier League.
Brings everybody up, doesn't he, the pitch?
He brings, Not only that, but he's truly hilarious.
No,
And as a social animal in that team, he does so much. I honestly, I'd recommend anybody to watch his interview with Gary Lineker this week.
Oh, it's
He
brilliant,
comes across
isn't it?
so well. Really, really good. So I just thought we were a little bit out of shape.
I'd like Ola Rayner to spend a day with you, Dave. I think that could make some great viewing, mate.
Me and him would have such a laugh, right? And what I really liked about this interview is he was showing us how artistic he is. He does painting and drawing and all that. And Gary Lineker says to him, "Come on then, Ola, show us a bit." And he went, "Hang on, man." And he went off and disappeared and he came back. And he's just such a charming lad. He Snapchats and everything. I was like Sarah, my hope was that he would be fit yesterday. And I thought, I just a bit like, I'm going to miss him. But that's not to decry Zack or Harry. I mean, Harry, it's been Harry's week, hasn't it, since Tottenham? What he did at Tottenham quite rightly earned him his moment in the spotlight. Harry's a gentleman. I thought Harry played all right yesterday. I just felt our Brazilian boys were the ones who seemed to be overwhelmed by the occasion a bit yesterday. But, the thing is, all of our lads will be better for what happened yesterday. That'll be, okay, it didn't go our way, but what an experience to learn from. And they'll sit down and they'll discuss it. And when it happens again, they'll be more ready for it, as with anything.
Yeah. It was great for the club and it was great for the fans. It was just a great...
I
know we lost, but I didn't feel like we'd lost. Because
we've not lost. We've made more progress. We've made more progress than any football club in this country this year. At the start of the season, who's going down? The 3 promoted sides and Nottingham Forest. That's what it was. Yeah. And Nottingham Forest went to hell with you and to hell with your preconceived notions. Who's overachieved? I think you could say Wrexham have overachieved to do what they've done, right? You could say that. You could say the likes of I don't know. I'm trying to think. Doncaster, Port Vale, they've overachieved. They've got promotion. But in terms of where we started to where we are now and the kind of conversations we're having now that we didn't have at the start of the season, nobody has overachieved more than Nottingham Forest. I could not be more proud of them, even on the dodgy days when it doesn't go well. You know what I mean? And those are the days when you get behind them. That's when they need us the most. And they're going to need us they're going to need us. You talk about managing players, Sarah, and I think there's some of that going on because this is a big week. It's that lot on Thursday night who are a good bunch, well coached and very close knit. I think they're nearest to us in terms of social atmosphere. Brentford, we're the smaller fish punching above our weight, a little bit like us. They're really good away from home. It's going to be a really, really difficult game. But then not only that, you have to play the FA Cup finalists who've just blown Aston Villa away at Wembley on the Monday. And if you like, there's a similarity between us and Palace. We talk about Anthony and Callum and Woody, right? And Morg. They've got Ismail Assar, who was brilliant at Wembley. Eberechi Eze, who to me is one of the best players in the country. Jean-Philippe Mateta is their Woody. And then you've got the likes of, I thought Adam Wharton was absolutely outstanding in that semi-final against Villa. Villa have got a really good midfield. Your Rodgers, your McGinns, your Tielemans, your Kamaras. Young Adam Wharton dominated all of them. So I think these are our 2 toughest fixtures remaining. This one on Thursday and the one on Monday. I just think we need a couple of wins. If we get something out of these next 2, win on Thursday night, massive. And what our lads have done on when they've had a setback, they've generally bounced back. Like they had the 2 defeats, and then it's Tottenham away. Well, this is tricky. No, they were excellent. The defeat in the FA Cup semi-final, how do you deal with it? Right, go and beat Brentford. Right, or go and try to beat Brentford. I'll take a point at Palace now because I think Palace are right on it at the moment. I think Palace will give City something to think about in that final. So I'm
just hoping Palace have got an eye on the final. I know they've got another game.
Yes, I am. Yeah,
I'm just hoping
I agree.
that that tackle that they want to go in, full-blooded tackle, they might just not go in for it because they don't want to get injured for the final, and that's what I'm thinking.
And sell at Wembley too.
Yeah, they will. Yeah, they'll be like when. That semi-final yesterday, the great interest for the outside public was Nottingham Forest at Wembley. Look at all that red. They won't bother about Manchester City because it's a feeling of ennui where they've been there that many times. When that FA Cup final comes around, everybody, the neutrals will all be with Glasner and Palace, right? Yeah. Like they were with us yesterday. Because, City have done it so many times before. Palace is a story. City aren't a story. I just looked at us yesterday and I said, we're a family, Nottingham Forest, and they're a business. A cold, ruthless business, right?
Yeah.
There's no soul to Manchester City, right? And I think the key point to add to yours, Sarah, is there are only 12 days between May the 5th and May the 17th when the final is, right? So Palace, those lads, like, can you imagine Eberechi Eze? He wants to play it. He's the key man for Palace. Can you imagine if he got injured against us on Monday night? Do you know what I mean? So there will be a bit of that, because, not to put too fine a point in, and Palace have been in 2 FA Cup semi-finals before, but this is probably the biggest, that will be the biggest day in their club's history. And those lads could be quite easily forgiven as human beings, thinking, blimey, I don't want to miss that. If we'd got through, you know, and our next game, before, if say we got to the FA Cup, you know, our last game would be that Leicester game on the Sunday before an FA Cup final, and our lads in that game be like, well, yeah, we should be beating Leicester, but, you know, so this is the psychology which fascinates me totally.
Yeah, but I mean, Palace just had those 2 games where they shipped 5 goals in both games. And you're thinking, what's going on? And then they kind of gathered themselves, didn't they? And then they played, and then they blew Aston Villa away. So, you know, it does have an effect on you, doesn't it? What, you know, they should have done better, I think, in the Premier League over the season. They had a bad start, but they've made up for it now, haven't they? But the Premier League's gone for them. They're safe. They're not probably going to get in Europe now. They've got the FA Cup. All eyes.
This is everything.
So,
and I was comparing us to Villa.
Mm.
We came out of Wembley with some positives. Villa came out with no positives. Villa were just utterly anonymous. Villa were a deep disappointment. I think Villa are a good side. I watched them against Newcastle. Wow. I watched them against PSG in a losing cause. Terrific. Saturday, what are Aston Villa doing?
Well, the players didn't even turn up, did they?
No, not
physically. They didn't turn up because Marcus Rashford wasn't there. He was at the boxing.
Yeah, he wasn't he? Bless him.
Anyway, we've gone off topic, haven't we?
Yeah, no. As we always do.
You'll start telling me what you're having for tea in a bit.
Oh, not again.
I'm having. I'm gonna have chicken and some roasted veg. I'm gonna be trying healthy, considering that. Well, I didn't spend it, but my dad spent like 60 quid on 4 burgers outside Wembley yesterday, and it said gourmet burgers, and I don't know what gourmet written. It wasn't gourmet, to be honest. It really wasn't.
Gourmet
the bun
burgers, maybe.
Yeah. Yes.
Did he have all 4 to himself?
No, luckily he gave me one and my brother one, and I think my mum had one as well. I can't remember now.
No.
Do you know what? Yesterday,
so expensive, isn't it?
Yeah.
I arrived back on the train, and we all kind of walked through Derby Station at like 10 o'clock. I always think train stations, particularly on a Sunday night, are some eerie places.
Yeah.
And walked past this, past the train, and then on kind of into the car park where we'd left the car. I just looked at my dad, and we both just looked at each other and went, it feels like ages ago since we were here. Felt like time had, you know what I mean? It's such a long day, travelling back and forth. So, yeah. I mean, to be fair with City, look, sell out your end, but I kind of do get it. They've been in that many cup finals.
Yeah.
And that's why the semi-final, yes, we loved the day out to Wembley, and it was great for us, and the novelty was there, but for me, they should be played at a more neutral ground. Villa Park, Old Trafford, Anfield would have been a better location for yesterday. But it's another topic of conversation.
To make a Midlands club and a more northerly club travel all that way, pay all that money, be fleeced by food outlets. Admittedly, Box Park was magic. Andy Reid, Joe Worrell, Norm was typically.
But you didn't have to be in Wembley for that, did you? You could have had Box Park, anywhere in the country. It's always the case. Everything's in London.
Yeah, it is. It just feels like a London-centric thing. And then there's nothing more Londony than being stuck in traffic, getting out of London, listening to TalkSport, which is just so Londony-centric.
Don't tell Max Scott that.
No, he
they were
is the
talking about
outlier.
Man U. They normally talk about Manchester United whenever I turn it on. It's just like, not again.
Happy with a point at Bournemouth, bless him.
That's why you should listen to. That's why you should start listening to Max Hayes on BBC Radio Stoke. He'll be all right, won't he?
Shameless plug.
Talking about the mighty Dale and Stoke.
Are you commentating on the match on Saturday with?
What for Stoke? No, I'm not. I'm not actually. No, I'm not. This week's a bit mental with the final disc, but no, I've got I've got a few shows in the next few weeks. I'm covering some people on holiday for the Sport at 6 show on Radio Stoke. So I'm doing a lot of crew in Vale at the minute. So I was really, really glad to see Vale get promoted.
Yeah,
good club, Port Vale, and Darren Moore.
I like Port Vale.
When I've spoken to Darren Moore in the past and we've done press conferences, he is always full of praise of Nuno. Says that Nuno kind of taught him a lot, and those two have a great relationship. So, yeah, gave me faith for Nuno.
He wrote a bad hand, wasn't he, at Sheffield Wednesday?
Yes, he was.
Yeah, he was.
No, he was.
But he's got lucky because
guy.
he's got Carol Shanahan helping him at Vale, and Carol runs a really tight ship. She's a great lady at Port Vale, Carol Shanahan.
Yeah.
And talking of ladies, before we go, we have to mention our girls.
Yes,
Champions yesterday and promoted. We cannot pass it by. It's an amazing. There was a really good thing. I think it was at half time where they kind of said, I know Mark Dennison said it, and I think he gave the score. And at the time, the girls were something like 6-2 up, and everybody cheered. And like, fair play to the girls. What a season! You know, they won the league, they won the cup and beat Stoke, and they deserve a massive hug, that lot. Bless them all.
So they go into the next league. Obviously, they go up into the next league.
Championship.
So one before the WSL. So this is where it gets a bit serious in terms of women's football. So they've done a great job, Dave. I agree. Really, really good to see. Yeah. And just a shame it clashed yesterday. I think they were trying to get
I thought that it was a shame.
Move. Typical, really, because obviously a lot of Forest fans that would have normally gone were potentially at Wembley, but I'm sure there's still a great support, and obviously absolutely fair play to the club for doing a continued great job with investing in both, obviously the men and the women, because that's what it is all about. Right, lovely stuff, both. We shall go before we end up on any more tangents. But thanks for your time. Appreciate it. I'm knackered. I feel like yesterday's took its toll on me. I've got to go and write. I've got to go and finish my uni project now. My dissertation. I'm falling asleep.
Get your own work done, son.
We've got another football match on Thursday night to get ready for.
Yeah.
It comes round.
And you kick every ball with them, don't you? That's why you kick every ball. I walked away, not so much yesterday, but from Tottenham. I walked away exhausted. I couldn't watch half the game. I was in behind Mick. I was absolutely exhausted. What a nervous game of football. And I'm going to be like that Thursday. I know I am, because I just want that third place back. I want to get back on Twitter and go, hold my beer. We're third. But, you know, it's one of them, isn't it? It's going to go to the wire, isn't it?
It will. It will. But we'll be here and we'll back the boys and fingers crossed we can get over the line. Look, Sarah, Dave, thanks very much. Enjoy your afternoons, whatever you're doing. Dave, I don't know what you're up to, but I think, Sarah, you're at work, so I hope it goes quick.
The sun's
Tesco
out,
and Waitrose.
Tesco and Waitrose.
Don't tell me mother's ghost. If she finds out, she's here, my mother, in spirit. If she finds out I've gone to Waitrose, she'll have me guts for garters.
She'll be in Lidl, mate. She'll be in Lidl.
My mum liked it when I used to go in Asda. Are you going to Waitrose? I am, duck. Yeah. Ooh.
Asda's struggling, aren't they? Asda's struggling now, aren't they? They were saying.
Oh, we've got supermarkets now.
Lidl and Aldi.
You should have seen the queue. You should have seen the queue for the Co-op outside Wembley yesterday.
Yeah,
I went in there to get some chewing gum, and it was like a one-way system out there.
It cost you £5, did it? That chewing gum?
Yeah, it did. It was about £3.50 for a small little pack.
London prices.
Yes, London prices. It's like that. I mean, I don't. You probably don't watch it, but it goes viral on social media. There's a great video from it's like a Coronation Street compilation when characters say they move into London and they go London like that. It's quite funny. I'd recommend you watch it because they talk about all the prices.
Right, Whittington, aren't we?
Right, let's get going.
Okay.
Thanks for all the comments live on Facebook, Nottingham Forest News and YouTube, Garibaldi Red. We appreciate it. We shall be back this week for the review of Brentford and, of course, look ahead to the last few games for Forest in this European running. Thanks to those that came up as well on Wembley Way or wherever people were yesterday, and thanks us for the good work we did on the podcast. That was it was lovely actually. It was really nice, especially trying to make a tube and almost jumped on the tube and some bloke quickly shouted that he loved the podcast. So we appreciate that. Hopefully going off on tangents about supermarkets doesn't annoy everyone too much. Dave will be in Tesco and Waitrose if you want to find him later on and go and get a signed photo.
Not signing autographs though.
The paparazzi will be outside, mate. You'll have to get. You'll have to
club card points, mate. That's what I'm there for.
Yeah, absolutely. Your Waitrose card, your free coffee. You get a free coffee and go to Waitrose, don't you?
Can I just say in my defence about Waitrose, me niece bullied me into having a Waitrose card last week when I went up to visit. She basically grabbed my phone off me and she says, "There you are, Uncle David. There's your Waitrose card. So blame our Tamsin, not me."
Okay, there we go. I'm sure it gets you some decent prices. Right, we'll go. See you Thursday. Thanks for all the comments. Like, share and subscribe across YouTube and give us a follow on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Leave us a review if you did enjoy, and we shall see you soon as Forest fall to defeat. Just that little bit closer. You never know what could have happened, but plenty to be proud of as the European push is still on. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.